Let's dive into the BTC price analysis and markets conversation with Joe Orsini. He joins us right now. Hello there, Joe. Thanks for coming on to the show. So you see this as a buying opportunity, according to your notes.
Sure, yeah. And so that's exactly what we wrote in our weekly commentary. And what we're really seeing is that this is an opportunity. If you look at markets, you can see that we're in an extraordinary period of volatility. We're on our sixth straight week of declines for not just Bitcoin, but also traditional equities as well. And so when you kind of look at the pessimism that's occurring now as prices moving lower, it does serve as a slight contrarian signal to us that things could be setting up for really a not all that bad rally the rest of the year. And so that's kind of what we're seeing and what we're kind of looking for going forward.
All right, well, one of the quickest 5-day losses in Bitcoin's history also happened. And I'm wondering if you could go over what were some of the catalysts of this? Why is this happening? Is it more for macro reasons, or is it because it's more crypto-centric because of the downfall of UST that we're seeing?
So broadly, we say that the pullback is macro specific. And one of the things we talk about really is that the pullback really began in early November. And that was with synchronous highs in not just Bitcoin and Ether, but as well as the NASDAQ composite, small cap growth, momentum, high beta. And so we're really in a 6-month bear market to begin. That being said, of course, price certainly was exacerbated this weekend over the concerns with what happened with Luna and what happened with UST. And really, as a result of that, spread to broader contagion. And you saw some fear over the weekend. And again, just as you're showing, you do see that this was one of the quickest weekly losses in Bitcoin's recent history. And so again, it does make sense with what's going on in the market. However, of course, naturally over the long term, it really does not change the long-term thesis.
And do you think this is more of an institutional sell-off or retail sell-off?
I would say it's probably both, right? And so when you have an altcoin going from, a high of, let's just say 100 to now below 1 cent, of course, there's some selling pressure in there. And the one thing that we'd say is, you are seeing greater quantitative strategies, systematic strategies utilizing Bitcoin. And so, of course, when price is going down, you're starting to see broader selling. And that to us does illustrate some institutional, but of course, there was panic. And of course, there was some retail selling as well.
Another really interesting chart is the spent output profit ratio, which is a measure of transaction profitability, and it demonstrates on-chain data suggesting capitulation. So how much are folks losing, and how does it compare to previous bear market bottoms?
Exactly what you said. So that shows the aggregate profitability of on-chain transactions, and at extremes does provide insight into the sentiment. What we're seeing is on Monday, that number reached 0.87, which is about a 13% aggregate loss. And most recently yesterday, it was about 0.85. And so when you look back at history, we can find 4 instances where, 4 attractive instances where, that number was below 0.9. One being late January 2022, which kicked off the rally that ultimately ended at the end of Q1. But you also saw a number, let's see on my notes here, 0.87. And that was actually 0.9, which was in July 20th, which marked the low of the 2021 year. 0.71 sober spend output profit ratio during March of 2020 during the COVID capitulation, and then 0.81 on December 14th, 2018, which is in the middle of the tariff war bottom as well. And so when you look back at history, you do see those signs of extremes. We're seeing that right now and recently with Bitcoin in this environment.
All right, so how low can it go for Bitcoin, and how much longer do you think this will last?
So bottoms are a process, and so we did see, a significant drawdown in WIC earlier overnight into a period, I think it was about 25.5. One area you could look for would be that realized price, which is about 24,500, 24.5. And so that is a potential, but ultimately for long-term investors, you have an opportunity to purchase Bitcoin significantly off its highs, and for a reason where it's really macro specific and not necessarily idiosyncratic, right? And so because of that, it provides an attractive opportunity for those with long-term horizons, those really looking to plan for the future and really buy Bitcoin off of its highs rather than at its highs.
Well, in Bitcoin, at least we've seen drawdowns of anywhere from 50% to 80%. 50%, we're definitely seeing that right now, but 80% could see Bitcoin all the way down to $14,000. Do you think that's a possibility?
It's tough to say. Of course, if you do see continued stress in equity markets, as you're seeing today, I mean, Bitcoin bounced from the low of about 25,500 and really rallied, but there's been weakness against with equities all day. And so, it seems as if right before I logged on here, it looks like, Bitcoin is again rolling over. So there's going to need to be a bottom in risk assets, and in order for really Bitcoin to bottom. What you do see in history is that Bitcoin often bottoms before equities, but really you're going to need a robust rally.
Well, Joe, would you advise to buy or keep holding until now?
I mean, so we don't necessarily want to give a price, but if you're looking to DCA and if you're long-term investors, of course, these are the attractive opportunities, especially as there's increasing pessimism in the market, right? And so again, price has gone down for 6 straight weeks, and now you're seeing a lot of bearish action. In history, over time, you're seeing people that really maintain conviction, practice patience, and really add on weakness when others are fearful is ultimately rewarded over the long term.